What's up, everybody? This is Mason Plumlee, back with another interview. Today we have Suril Kantaria from Savvy. He's going to explain to us how he's making it easy and affordable for small businesses and startups to afford health insurance to their employees. So let's bring him on. Suril?
Hey, how's it going, Mason?
Good. Thanks for joining us. Short notice, too.
Happy to be here.
Great. So excited to jump into Savvy, but why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself and how you came to be a founder?
Yeah, sure. So the quick background is I grew up out in the East Coast in Connecticut to a immigrant small business owning family. So always looked up to that community of business owners and knew that's what I wanted to do. And ultimately, I was previously working as a technology investor and was inspired by all of the incredible entrepreneurs that we've seen over the last many years, and knew that I wanted to do something and follow kind of in their shoes. And I think that's really where the journey began for me.
Very cool. And how old is Savvy? And tell us what Savvy does.
Yeah, so we started the business last summer, and what Savvy is a new kind of employer health insurance for small businesses and startups. 70% of SMBs don't offer health benefits today because it's too expensive or too complex, and Savvy makes it easy and affordable for every small employer to offer their employees with affordable health insurance.
Gotcha. And so SMBs being businesses with 100 or less employees. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
And my understanding is you guys are taking advantage of some insurance affordability reform that recently passed.
Yeah. So the federal government recently passed a new law which essentially lets small employers very simply offer health insurance. The way they can do that now is give their employees tax-free money and let them choose and buy their own health insurance plan. And this is we think particularly game-changing for small employers, and it really reduces a lot of the complexity and makes it much more affordable for small employers to give this what used to be a large company benefit to their employees.
And what's the reception been like for you from the employers and then the employees?
Yep. So I think employers have been really excited about it. And I think one thing I'd say is the way health insurance currently works really hurts small employers because essentially, if you're a small business owner today, you have to go find and administer a group health plan for all of your employees. And when you're small, you essentially have a small risk pool, which basically means you're seeing higher prices. And if someone gets sick any given year, in that next year, you'll see a big price increase. We've heard high double-digit price increases year over year on that group policy. And the second issue is, small business owners just don't have the time to navigate the complex healthcare system and be experts. Large employers have full-time HR people or benefits people who spend all year thinking about this and administering, their company's health benefits. But when you're small, you're doing a million different things at once. And so I think the reception for us has been, look, like they can offload that administration to us, number one, and they don't have to become these health insurance gurus. And then number two, they can finally offer health benefits in an affordable way because now they get to pick how much to give their employees. They're no longer forced to offer these very expensive and complex group plans. And it's really exciting for the employer. And then from the perspective of the employee, this is huge as well. If you just look at the landscape, there are about 6 million employer small businesses in the United States. And as I mentioned, the majority of them don't offer health benefits to their employees. What that means is their employees are not getting the tax advantages of employer health insurance, and they don't get any contribution from the employer. The tax advantage is when you're getting a company health benefit, it's all pre-tax. So if your tax rate is 30%, that means you're not paying that 30%. So if you buy it yourself because your employer isn't offering it, that means you're paying post-tax money. You're paying 30% more. And on top of that, your employer isn't contributing at all. And health insurance is incredibly expensive today. It's really hard to navigate. I don't know if you've been on an exchange or talk to a broker, but these aren't easy decisions. So I think employees also are really, I think we're really excited to enable employees to have a really easy way to get health insurance that's also kind of pre-tax. So they're saving thousands of dollars now with us. And finally, their employer is giving them some contribution, whatever they can really afford.
Okay, so why are employers in the middle of health care in the first place, and what are you doing to change this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I guess if you don't mind, a quick history of this whole system is right after World War II, there was rampant inflation. So prices were going up very quickly, and the federal government put in place a salary freeze. So companies couldn't, offer their employees more money. And of course, when you have salary freezes, it's hard for employers to hire. And so what the government said was employers can offer their employees with health benefits as a way to attract workers. Ever since then, I mean, this is 80 years ago, the employer has been in the middle of U.S. healthcare. And it's really that tax benefit, that tax advantage of employers offering their employees with health benefits. We don't think, and frankly, like the U.S. is one of the only G20 countries to have this model. And it doesn't make much sense, right? Like your employer doesn't buy your clothes for you. They don't buy your food for you. They don't, they don't buy your house, right? So why should they be buying your personal health care? But that's just the way it works. So I think the second part of the question was, what are we doing to change this? I think for us, we're making an incremental step where the employer is now removing themselves from the middle and giving their employees the ability to choose their own healthcare that works for them. So we think this is great for employers because they're no longer kind of making these personal employee healthcare decisions, and it's great for employees because now they are essentially getting they're getting a stipend from the employer, and they get to choose their health plan, whatever is best for their needs.
Gotcha. So this is such a hot topic and always politicized. What is your stance on healthcare in general? Is it Medicare for all? Do you want more free market competition? Where do you stand?
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, I think I think in the United States today, there's the illusion of healthcare being a highly regulated market. Everyone's always talking about the regulatory sides of it. And then we also have on the other side this illusion that we're a free market, where there's lots of competition and different providers of healthcare. And I think the reality is we're getting the benefits of neither, right? It's a really broken system. And my view is what we really need ultimately is to move towards a system that in one direction or the other. And for us, we feel like if we can get more competition in the marketplace, if we can get better prices for consumers, we're doing a lot of good for the healthcare market. And so I think what we really feel is the way to do this is to bring you and I, like consumers, into the market, and give them kind of more of a voice, where they can pick their plans, where they could move with their feet. And in the other market, in every other market in the United States, when you have more kind of individual selection and more consumers, you always see kind of the supply or the different vendors innovate for the consumers, and that's what we're really excited about with this regulatory shift.
Gotcha. So for the here and now with the pandemic going on, why is it advantageous for small businesses to engage with you guys? Say they've never given health insurance to their employees, or it's a startup like you've alluded to, where they're just getting going.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think number one, our hearts go out to all of those who are kind of fighting on the front lines, or seeing, kind of dips in their, or a real kind of closing down their businesses. I mean, they're really struggling right now. And number one, I think these are our customers, and so we're very much sympathetic to what's happening. I think as we think about health insurance specifically, we're in this unfortunate reality of a real pandemic. And what that means is there's a real health risk for a lot of Americans. And we feel like, people shouldn't be stuck with, in the event that's, in the event that they get sick, they should be stuck without health insurance. And so number one, I think, there are a lot of businesses coming to us right now saying, look, we didn't see this happening or foresee this happening. And we need to help our employees get health insurance, and we need to get set up really quickly. So I think number one, we're really excited to help anyone with that need, who's worried about getting their employees coverage, who needs kind of a real quick solution and affordable solution.
Gotcha.
So yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
I was going to say the other thing was just like the tax benefits, right? Like there are a lot of Americans who are struggling right now. If they're buying health insurance out of pocket, they're paying post-tax. So they're basically paying 30% more. So we think it's really, you can save your employees thousands of dollars if you can just give them some sort of benefit and make their expense pre-tax.
So we have a question from Jeff Howland. He says, good concept. How are you different than a broker?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you say broker, it's really someone, who's helping employers get health insurance. And you could think of us, we have brokers at Savvy. And so you could think of us as a technology that also serves as a broker platform.
Got it. So basically you guys are taking the grouping of all your individual employees from across different businesses and getting group pricing and affording it to them, to an employer that has maybe 3 to 5 employees.
Yeah, so that's a good point, Mason. So as we get as we move forward, what really drives us is the ability to advocate for our customers and get the best pricing possible on our platform. Today, of course, I think as we build the platform, we're just kind of helping unlock health benefits for a lot of people for the first time, or give them a really easy way to administer these benefits. Mm-hmm. But as we go forward, getting the best selection and the best prices is kind of top of mind for us.
So you service these early stage companies. I know from your accelerator, you've brought on some of those companies. As they grow, is it your plan to grow with them and still service them down the line? Why have you not approached larger businesses? Is that an aspiration for Savvy?
Yeah, definitely. We think starting small is being focused and starting small is really important. And so I think for us, we saw the biggest problem in this market at that sub 100 employee segment. If you just look at the businesses that are, when we talk to our customers, we hear it all the time. Like they feel like the insurance market is not working for them, and hasn't been working for them for many years now. And so that's where we're starting. As they get larger, we'll absolutely be there, kind of supporting them. And we think that our solution works as you scale as well. There's no reason when you add employees, you can't still offer them Savvy benefits. And of course, as we get larger, as you said, we're going to have much kind of better plans on the platform and better prices. And so as employers get larger, it makes more sense for them to stay with Savvy and offer their employees this different way of an employer health benefit.
Gotcha. So can you, somebody just chimed in, they asked, can you give us a typical customer and case study of somebody that you've worked with?
Yep. So one example just from this week is, there's a, I'll give a startup example first. There's a 6-person startup. They have, with the pandemic right now, they're all working from home, and they have some folks in California, some folks in New York, and they just hadn't thought about offering health benefits to the company. So for them, they, number one, they have folks in different states. They're all remote, and so they knew that they didn't want to. And number two, that the person responsible for this is the founder or the business owner, and he just he didn't really understand the system. And kind of when they came to us, they thought it was just really easy, right? Like they come to our platform, they decide how much they want to offer to all the employees. In their case, I think they were covering, I think it was something like $400 a month, and then it was really easy for the employer to get going, and then they had employees in multiple states, and we helped them get set up with health plans. So that's just one example. I mean, that's a small employer, but now all of those employees, some of them had health plans and they wanted to keep them, and that works great. Other people, they're worried about the coronavirus threat. They needed to get set up, and so we helped them get new plans.
Gotcha. Very interesting. So one of the things you shared with me that you're part of the Y Combinator accelerator. I don't know if we've had any founders on that have been part of an accelerator. Can you share with us your decision to go into that and what you thought the benefits of that were?
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure there are a lot of folks in the audience who might be thinking about startups. And one thing I'd just say is an accelerator could be a great way to quickly learn about all of the kind of the pitfalls, but also the different ways to think about starting a business. For us, that was a big, that was very attractive, right? YC has an incredible network of very successful entrepreneurs, companies like Stripe, Airbnb, Instacart, Cruise, and others. And we knew that, starting a business is a very lonely journey. It's really hard. You're constantly failing. And so for us, when we felt like YC would give us this incredible network and access to folks who had done it before, and that was really attractive to us. And so that's really why we did it. And then, of course, the other aspect of it is it's always nice to have the mentorship of folks who've seen thousands of entrepreneurs. Another thing I'd just say is, you don't want to make the same mistake others have made. And so if there's a way you can just really hone in on the types of things you should be focusing on, or how other people have done it before you, I think that really helps you get to, scale your business faster and get to product market fit faster.
Gotcha. So I've been asking the easy questions. We got one that's going to put you on the spot here from Valerie. She says, healthcare is such a political conversation. Is there a current presidential candidate that you think has the right plan for healthcare? If you don't want to talk politics, what would you want from the government to make what you do easier and make things easier for people out there that are struggling to pay bills?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first part I think was, presidential plans. Look, I think I'll start with, I mean, it seems like Trump and Biden are the two likely nominees. So I'll talk about them. I actually think the regulation that we're seeing right now was actually introduced by President Trump, and I think there were a lot of great things about it. You know, his philosophy around this, or his administration's view around this, was we need to improve competition in the healthcare marketplace. Number one. Number two, we need to really enable a lot of small employers who can't afford or access group health insurance a way to access health insurance. I think both of those are really important principles, and if we can, if Savvy can be really successful in what we're trying to do, and if this regulatory shift can actually enable, a large kind of a new paradigm in health insurance, what that means is you now have all of these small employers who couldn't afford to give their employees health insurance now have a solution. And so that's, potentially 30 million employees who now have a compelling health benefit offering. And you also have much more consumer influence in the marketplace. Like, you and I are not going to settle for a bad health plan or prices that are too high, right? So as you have more people like you and me that are in this marketplace, I think that's just much better. And the insurance companies will have to think about us consumers because we're the ones making the buying decision, and where we have the choice. So I think that's the Trump side of things. Biden, to be completely honest, I haven't seen too much specifics around how he wants to improve the healthcare system. But my sense, just from on the Democratic side of things, is he was responsible for or partially responsible for what's called Obamacare, ACA. He was the vice president at the time, of course, and what ACA did was it really was all about the marketplaces, and they basically created these marketplaces across the country. There's the federal marketplace for individuals, and then there's the state marketplaces. And the idea there was you had all of these uninsured Americans who couldn't get employer health benefits, and so what if you create a marketplace so that everyone gets access? And then they also had subsidies for folks who couldn't, who are making kind of low income and couldn't quite afford the higher health insurance costs. Now, to be clear, both Trump and this new regulation is really taking advantage of those marketplaces. It's building on top of that, right? So when a small employer is giving money to their employees are buying individual health plans, and that's largely, that's largely thanks to the Obamacare marketplaces. So I think, yeah.
Go ahead. After all the Geico and State Farm ads, now we're going to see Humana and Kaiser.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like that would be fantastic, right? It wouldn't be awesome if like if Humana and Cigna and Kaiser and all these companies were doing user interviews, were calling us up, were texting us, asking us how our experience has been. We're actually innovating on the mobile apps, right? That would be amazing. I would love if my health insurance worked like Google or Facebook, right? That'd be amazing.
So this is all really interesting stuff. I'm gonna give you one more audience question, give you a chance to give some advice to your fellow founders. And we also want to hear, so first, before all that, tell us what's the next 6 months look like for you, and what's your go forward from here?
Yeah, definitely. So number one, we're right now, obviously as a small startup, we're just trying to serve as many customers as possible. And so we're heads down. This is a really trying time for a lot of employers that we focus on, and we want to be there, helping them kind of make sure that health insurance is not something they have to be worried about for themselves or their employees.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, the next 6 months. And then specifically going forward, I think there are really three things that drive us. Number one, it's how do we get folks, our customers, the best possible prices on health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, it's how do we get them the best selection of health plans.
Mm-hmm.
And number three, it's how do we make it as stress-free and easy as possible to get them this service. That ultimately, I think, if we can do those three things and keep focused on those, I think we can really make an impact on our customers and their kind of businesses.
That's great. I'll say, just in the time that we've been online, we've had some founders reach out that I'm sure will want to talk to you about this. So last audience question. Let's see. How important is the ability to buy insurance across state lines to pricing in your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think the person who asked that question is pointing out that in the United States, insurance is very state-based. And one of the aspects of this regulation, I won't go into the details, that Trump introduced, is this ability for businesses across state lines to come together to negotiate better prices. And so we think that's a great idea. I mean, we feel like the more we can make this a large marketplace instead of these small little kind of state marketplaces, the better for the consumer, the better for you and me. And so I think for now, we're operating within the existing system. And so, when we have customers across states, we're getting their employees plans in their respective states. But as we go forward, we'd love to see more carriers that are offering, kind of that are really thinking about this from an interstate kind of perspective. And one of the benefits I mentioned, I didn't mention this specifically, but if you're a remote team, you have employees in different states. It's a nightmare today to get your company health insurance, and so I think that's also one area that we can really help, because now every employee is getting their own plan. Very
cool. So we like to ask all our guests to give some advice, just your learnings in starting your own company. Just some wisdom for the viewers.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'd say, so I think, there's one saying that I really like that YC kind of repeats over and over again, and it's make something people want. I think the times are a little bit different now, and there's a lot of turmoil in the market. There's a lot of uncertainty. There are a lot of people struggling. Some of the things that we're seeing from hospitals in New York, from small businesses around the country, the unemployment numbers are staggering. And so I think what I'd say to all the aspiring entrepreneurs is just make something people need, because there is a lot of dire need in the world right now. And I think it raises the bar for anyone who's looking to really tackle a problem. And I just say, go out there, talk to people, and really empathize with what's happening in the country and in the world, and make something people need. And as long as we have a lot of bright folks doing that, I think we're all going to be better off for it.
Well, that's great advice. Suril, we want to thank you for coming on. We've had car dealers, we've had Einstein Bagel Brothers operators, we've had all these small businesses reach out while we've been on the interviews. So we're going to roll your information here at the bottom.
Awesome.
For everybody that's watching that wants to learn more and take advantage of Savvy, there's the information. So thanks again for coming on. This was great. and we look forward to seeing you service a lot of people in need.
All right. Thanks, Mason. And thank you all.